Hello my loves and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a video that I was discussing with the lovely Nana from Nana Beauty. I'm going to leave her channel in the description box, but we were talking the other day about the bperfect chroma cover, and I said I'd quite like to do a video where I did half on one face, one on half my face and one on the other half of the face, so we can compare the differences between the matte and the hydrating. Now it's like 1:30 right now, so the wear test isn't going to be very long, but I think on my dry skin it would be a good example of kind of how these two differ. So I'm going to start off with a really simple hydrating primer. This is the Plouise Hydrate the Heartbreak primer. It's nothing like to write home about. It's a really basic, like milky moisturising primer. Okay, so we're going to apply both of them the same way I apply my foundation every day. Please don't judge how dirty this looks. It is actually clean. This is the Dose of Lashes Baddie Blender. So I'm going to start out with the illuminating one. So the packaging is pretty much the same. You've just got the silver on the illuminating and the black on the matte one, but like I said, we're going to start out with the silver one. I'm going to give it a little shake. These are both in the shade C1, the coolest and the palest shade. I do actually think that the illuminating is darker than the matte one. So I'm going to do like 1.5 pumps on my sponge, so I probably would normally use about 3. Obviously, if you don't use that much foundation, that's totally fine as well. I just like a full coverage. If I'm going for a full coverage, I want it to be full coverage. Okay, so I know you guys really enjoyed my KBD Good Apple comparison video, so I thought you would possibly enjoy this one as well, because we are getting to the point where quite a few brands are bringing out sort of the same but not quite products. Now, this is probably not the best way to do a wear test, because after this I'm actually going to film a rainbow under eye, which I saw on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, but I feel like we'll still be able to tell like on the forehead and the chin, and I've got some kind of problem area spots here, so I feel like that will catch that nicely. So that is the radiant side. It's very glowy, it's very comfortable, it doesn't look heavy, it just sits really beautifully on the skin. And then we're going to go in with the matte one. This one in texture is definitely thicker, and also really annoyingly the pump is broken on mine. It's just never worked. So this is definitely like a slightly sort of moussier texture, I would say. We're not talking like Drew Matte Mousse kind of levels, but it's definitely, as you can see, a lot thicker on the sponge. It definitely holds its own a bit more. And like I said, it is just a tiny bit lighter, which I think is great if you sort of are switching to the matte one because you want something lighter, or like you're very pale, but I think if sort of the luminous one, the matte one matches you and you want to try the luminous one, it might be just a tidge too dark even if you buy the same shade. So as you can see from the videos, this side is the matte, this side is the luminous. The matte has definitely got more coverage. It sits a bit thicker on the skin. It's definitely heavier coverage than the luminous. But for me, I personally prefer the way the luminous looks. I find the luminous wears really well, whereas for me the matte does tend to look a little bit dry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go away, do the rest of my makeup for this other video, and then I'm going to come back and give you my sort of first final impressions, wearing them side by side, and then I might do a check-in later, just depends on what time it is, and if there's much to say really, but I will pop a little bit in the description box about how they wore sort of afterwards. But first, kind of comparisons with them together. The matte is definitely more coverage, it's definitely slightly lighter. The luminous for me is more skin-like, it looks more glowy, more natural, and it's definitely what I prefer. But if you are a full coverage queen, like if you love the Huda what's it called, faux filter matte. I think you're going to love this if you've not tried it already. So yeah, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so I've done the rest of my makeup. As you can see, kind of a crazy look, but I will link it down below. It's a bit of a fun one. I can slowly start to see the matte side. It's kind of sort of sinking into my slime lines, the little lines on the side of my mouth, whereas the radiant side still looks really nice and natural because it's quite light. It's not sunk into any sort of lines or anything. And the matte one I do think definitely looks a little bit heavier. The difference isn't really intense. I can see that maybe if you've got oily skin, you might be more drawn towards the matte one. But in terms of having dry skin, I feel like they've not changed that much. However, I will keep you updated. I'll do another check-in when I've finished my next lot of videos. And we'll see how it wears. Okay, so this will be my final check-in for you guys. We've got, just a quick reminder, the matte on this side and the illuminating on this side. I definitely think, for me, the illuminating has worn better. It's not clung to any of these kind of problem areas where I've got some spots. Whereas I can see, even though I've got an unpopped spot around here, it's clung to it on the matte side, and it, you know, I've not even touched the spot. So I definitely think this is heavier. It doesn't feel half as comfortable as this side does. This side feels like I've got very little on my face. This side does feel slightly heavier. And as I said, it has sunk into my smile lines. If you are into a matte foundation, I feel like you would really like this one. But for me, the outright winner is definitely the illuminating. I just think it looks healthier, and it's wearing better already. Don't get me wrong, I've only had it on for about 4 hours, but I don't really see a lot of change in my skin after this time, unless things are going to start really drying down, which I already know that this one doesn't do, and this one does. Obviously as well, my nose is quite a focal point, but I can't really get to that today, so everything looks very smooth on there because I've got 5 lots of eyeshadow on it. So overall, I do think these are very similar. Do you need both of them? Probably not. If I was perhaps going on a night out, I might be more inclined to use the matte one, but I do genuinely think that they are very similar. The illuminating is just slightly less coverage. And again, weirdly going back to it, the illuminating is slightly darker than the matte. So that is everything. I really do hope you did enjoy this video. If you do have these foundations, I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know which one's your favourite, if you don't like them, why, when, who, where and what. I do hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more from me, hit subscribe. And if you want to make sure you never miss another video, click the bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post. You've been fabulous. I've been Colour the Ball, and I'll see you next time. Bye!